Today's sales leader faces increasing pressure and seemingly impossible quotas. And most are told the answer is more calls, more pipeline, more grind. With over 20 years in the trenches of sales leadership, I know there's a better way. Welcome to the Authentic Sales Manager podcast, brought to you by From the Heart Business Network. I'm your host, Harry Spaight. I believe in celebrating wins, visualizing success, and making sales and sales leadership honorable. Let's go. Welcome to the Authentic Sales Manager podcast. Today, we've got a great guest by the name of Tim Douglas. Very excited about this conversation. Tim and I had a great conversation just the other day, and I was like, I've got to get this guy on the show. So, Tim Douglas, welcome. What is the good word, my man?
Harry, man, it is good to sit down and actually sit and record as our conversation, as you mentioned the other day, was so much fun. I'm sitting there thinking, man, we should have just recorded this. This would have been a great podcast episode. But hey, here we are, and we're going to do our best to add as much value to your listening audience today.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
hopefully I can
appreciate that.
measure up to your other guests.
Yeah. All right. We'll really mess people up with this one, I'm sure. But this is so fun talking about leadership. And one of the things that we're talking about on this show is sales leadership. So Tim, I'd like to start off with each podcast with a question. What does an authentic sales manager mean to you, sir?
It's a good question, and I like it. Not being currently right now in sales, the thing that comes to mind to me when you say that is, this is from the Heart Network, right?
Yeah.
And so authentic is authentically from your heart. You are showing up, ready to empty yourself for your team, for those that you serve, those that you manage or whatever. So authentically, the authentic salesperson does that. They show up and they empty themselves for, and their heart is for their team. So they do that for their teams. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, you nailed that one. So you mentioned you're not in sales directly,
Mhm.
but you've had some experience in sales and leadership. So can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing now in leadership so that we kind of set the table here a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I lead a team of civil infrastructure designers or engineers and designers, and so you know, taking a team that was struggling 3 years ago to now one of the not one of the highest performing team in the company, a team that is actually now the model of how we do things for other disciplines. And so I lead that team, but more importantly than leading that team, I develop leaders. That's
Mm.
my main purpose and goal is to develop people and develop. I always say, put it this way: I'm in the business of developing people and leaders. Just so happens to be in the water wastewater industry. That's all.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, right? It's like
Doesn't matter.
sales, people in sales say, well, I can't sell this or that. And it's like, it's really about the people, right? Because people
100%.
show up everywhere. And if you're selling whatever, hazardous waste removal versus medical equipment, you're still dealing with people.
That's
Just
right.
different types of problems it might have, but generally there's a lot of similarities. So one
Absolutely.
of the things I think, why there's so much I love about what our past conversation was about leadership is that in sales leadership, a lot of sales leaders come from selling and they get promoted into sales leadership. And for whatever reason, they think that, and myself included, we thought we could make a bunch of mini me's and so we now have whatever 8 or 10 of Harry Spaights running around the room. And I found out that not everyone thinks like me.
That's
I
right.
just assumed they did. And then when I got it as I was a leader, I was thinking, wow, they don't think like me. I've got to become this, I got to do everything for people. And then it's like I was a disaster. And one of the things you said was, is I think it's something about either being teaching people to fish, but I forgot. It's like, what was the thing you were talking about? Is helping people to develop into leaders.
Yeah.
Um, if you could just share that with us.
Yeah. So my philosophy is that as a leader, whether you're a sales lead, whether you're an engineering lead, whether you're a father, a husband, doesn't really matter, or yourself, right? Your job is to develop other leaders. That's a true leader. A
Mm,
leader develop other leaders around them and under them. And when it comes to that story we were talking about regarding, developing fishermen or whatever, was using it in sales. So I spent since see 2012 to 2016, so about 4 years in sales, and I was the lead sales, account executive account manager for a company, and here I am responsible for going out and uh, connecting with all these clients, right, and
mhm.
product and so I started to think through this process as if I was a fisherman, what is the best method for me to be most effective and do what I do best? As a fisherman, the best thing that I could do is to be out there on the water catching fish.
Right.
It is not really effective or time, efficiency, right? When we talk about efficiency and being efficient with time and things like that, it's not really efficient for me to sit and do a lot of lead gen as well. Or once I catch a fish, now typically the MO was, hey, you get your leads, you go out, you fish, you get your fish, you hook, your client, you bring them back, you made your sell. Now you got to write it all up. Now you got to, get it all out to the client. You got to answer any questions the client has, da 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 da, walk them through the proposal and yada yada yada, right? All these
Right.
things. And I'm like, man, if I'm doing all this, I'm not out fishing.
Mm,
And so the idea was for me, it was like, well, I need a dock crew. I need a boat crew. I need, someone that can get it to market. So in other words, if I'm here on the dock there, those guys are responsible for the lead gen. They know where the fish are. And now I can just go out there and focus on what I do well. And I always just said, hey, just get me in the door. If you can get me in the door, because you got the gatekeepers and all that stuff.
yeah.
Like if you can get me past the gatekeeper, I'll close the sale. And so it was like, hey, just get me in there and allowing them to do what they do best. And I think that's
Nice.
just allowing them to hone their craft. And that allowed me to hone my craft. And then once I, get the sale and we got the agreement, now I've got to take this back. And instead of me sitting down, writing all this up, doing all this, now I get to hand this off to another group of individuals, my dock crew, and they get
Yeah.
to clean the fish. They get the fish ready for market and send it off and all those things. I don't have to have a hand in that. I have to trust my
Right.
team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's about building a team that you can trust and you have to, that's part of the relationship building. You got to build relationships with people just like you do in sales. I've got to build a good enough relationship with my clients so that they trust me, that
Right.
I'm their trusted advisor and they're going to come to me and they trust me what I say, so it's no different than building a team around you in sales, a bunch of leaders and giving them responsibility, giving them ownership, allowing them to take ownership of what they do.
Mm,
And of course, there's, we sometimes you have to, nudge them or kind of point them in the right direction because they get off course or whatever. But, the point is to develop and build a team around you so you can go hone your craft and do what you do well.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just love what you just said. There's, I mean, so much value in it, in the, trusting the team, right? So I came from a background where I didn't really trust the team behind me. I had to learn that. I just, because for whatever my background was, doesn't matter. But I felt like I needed to have my nose and my eyes on a lot. But once I realized that, man, these people know what they're doing. They've been doing it a lot longer than I have. It is a smooth operation.
That's
Me
right.
getting involved with trying to help is just not part of the check boxes, right?
Not.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that there, sorry to interrupt you there,
no, I
but
love
that
it. Yeah.
there is key because many times when you were saying all that, what was running through my head, there are no bad teams, only bad leaders.
Mm,
And so if I can't trust my team, I'm the problem.
yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like, well, what have I done to help them? to build them up, to get to a place to where I can trust them, to build that relationship or whatever. So I'm the problem, and sometimes the best thing for me to do is to get out of the way and let my team do. Not sometimes. Majority of the time, it is the best thing. That is the right thing to do, is get out of their way.
Yeah, well, definitely we're going to touch on getting out of the way and developing your people. We're going to hear a quick word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
If you were buying a company, you wouldn't just glance at the website and say, looks good, let's buy it. You'd do your due diligence. You'd review the books, check the leadership, dig into performance history.
Exactly. You never spend millions on a company without knowing what you're getting. Yet, most CEOs hire salespeople with nothing more than a resume and a gut feeling.
That's why we recommend Sales Index Unlimited Candidate Assessments. It's like due diligence for your sales hires. Each sales candidate is evaluated across 21 core sales competencies because a crucial role like sales requires more than a personality profile. Sales Index compares candidates against a database of 2.5 million salespeople. You'll know exactly who has the drive, the grit, and the skills to perform before you bring them on board.
Because in sales, a bad hire doesn't just cost salary, it costs momentum, margin, and morale.
For just $299 a month, you can protect your growth engine and make every sales hire a smart investment.
Do your due diligence before your next hire.
Go to unlimited.salesindex.ai. That's unlimited.salesindex.ai and hire with confidence.
Welcome back to the Authentic Sales Manager podcast with Tim Douglas joining me. Tim, we were just talking about developing people, trusting people as a leader. You're really good at developing leaders. Where did this philosophy come from? Instead of being the go-to person for everything, you became over time where you were helping develop people to make their own decisions. Where did that all
Mm.
stem from, and what are you doing today to encourage that?
Yeah, way too many resources to kind of rattle off for the short little episode. In a nutshell, I guess it's just been I'll put it this way: leadership is not a role or a title. For me, it's a profession, and I've made it my profession to be a leader and to hone my craft as in leadership, to be able to develop other people, and that kind of came through over time, where I was starting to notice through even as young as in high school, on sports teams, or then get into the workforce. Folks were just, for some reason, drawn to me, sharing ideas with me, their thoughts, and wanted my feedback. And I'm like, crap, if people are coming to me looking for something, I better do my part. And so I just started honing my craft years and years ago. I mean, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, back in the
Mm,
day, pouring myself into those guys.
yeah.
And, that's kind of morphed into a lot of other different things to where now, that those leadership philosophies that still are true today, that still work for me today, I've been able to build upon that with other great leaders that I've surrounded myself with. And quite honestly, my focus around developing teams came into kind of existence, I don't know, several years ago. And started thinking, who are the best people that build teams out there? And it's the Navy SEALs. And
Mm,
so I kind of started surrounding myself with people that were from that community, so that I could learn from them. How do they build teams? What are their structure like? How do they, and I learned a lot of this from them. One of my good friends, Will Branham, he always says leaders don't get bullets. And the premise of that is he was training young SEAL team leads, and he was finding that those leads were out running and gunning and doing everything with their squad or their team. And you pull him out. What are you doing? He goes, I'm helping my team. How are you helping your team? He goes, because I'm in there with them. He's like, how do you know what's happening on your left, to your right, behind you? How are you
mm,
communicating clearly? How do you communicate and know exactly how to direct your team if you're in the midst of all the fire with them? And so the idea is that you are not, that you don't, are involved, but you do have to detach. You do have to take a step back. You do have to have a broader vision of what's going on, because when you're in the fight, when you're in the sales room, you're hyper focused to like right here, and there's going to be some issues. And I know we talked about detachment on another um, call, and that's one of those things. Is as a leader, you've got to be able to step back, detach from it to get a broader view. And it's the same with your teams, right? You cannot stay in the trenches with them all the time. So I don't know if I
Yes.
went in the right direction
No,
for you.
I mean, there is no there are only right directions here.
That's
I mean,
good.
we're gonna think on our feet. So my delay is to get my thoughts is I love what you just said.
Mhm,
But it's true. This idea of being in the weeds, the way I've looked at it, is that you
mhm.
get so caught up in the weeds and the day to day that there is no planning, there is no broader
Right.
vision, there is no looking outside and saying, I like to kind of step out and look
Mhm.
at what's going on mentally and say, okay, what are you doing down there? Because you're just so caught up in the weeds, you're not looking at the big picture.
This is your view
Right.
right here. That's your
Exactly.
view, you know?
Yeah. So how do you help correct that? When you, because that's, I think, is a challenge for a lot of us.
Yeah, I think the important thing is to know what is right. Like, what are the right behaviors?
Mhm.
What are the right skills? What are the right techniques? What are the right um I think you used the word earlier. I'm drawing a blank on it, but
Strategies, maybe.
strategies.
Yeah.
What are those things? And
Yeah.
when you know those as the leader of a team or of a group of individuals or people, if you see those things, the best thing you can do is reinforce them. Hey, great job on. Hey, Harry, man, I saw that you detached from your team. I was watching you guys from afar. I was watching you, and I noticed how you did not get caught up in the emotions of what was going on. I noticed that so now I'm reinforcing that in you. And but maybe it's something that I saw, and it's just, hey, I saw you get a little caught up in that whole environment right there, man. Just going to encourage you. Remember, we talk about detachment. You got to be able to detach in those situations. So, or maybe it's you're the lead and you stepped in and you created the whole plan. Hey, Harry, you know what? I noticed you stepped in and created the plan for the team. Did you think about like what the team thought about the plan? Because they're always going to agree with you.
Right.
But hey, Harry, how about next time? What if you tried this? Why don't you ask the team how they would plan this
Yeah.
this out? So you're guiding them, and you're reinforcing as you go.
So good. So applicable to sales leadership. I
Mhm.
mean, we would get, from the beginning of every year, we'd get this massive number. And, to pass that on to their team, the first thing I did was forget about the number that the company gave me. It's like, what are we capable of?
Mhm.
What is our potential? Get the team talking about that. And then they would come up with a massive number. It's like, hey, the good news is your massive number is higher than the company's massive number. So we're in good shape. But it was
Yeah.
getting
Allow
their
them to set the
feedback.
targets.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now they're more committed to that.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if it just comes from the top and you
It's
have no
ownership,
idea
man.
where their heads are at,
Yeah.
talk to me. What were you saying before?
I was just saying that's ownership.
Yeah.
Now they have full ownership in that. And that's what you want people to do. You want people to take ownership.
Yeah.
And when you goals for people, I'm not a big fan of setting goals for you, Harry. Like,
Yeah.
now it's my goal for you. How committed are you to my goal for you?
Right. When you
And
saying
so,
that just makes me crack up. Is like, your goal for me is for me to lose 20 pounds. My goal is I want to eat potato chips and French fries.
there's got to be some balance, but you know what I mean. You got to come up with that, right? Like,
But it's
uh,
just as absurd, really.
yeah,
It's like you got to get the person to come up, get them
yeah,
started
yeah,
anyway, right?
yeah,
See where they're
absolutely.
at today. What's your thought on that?
To see where they are today,
Yeah.
yeah, I would actually push that a little bit further
Okay.
and say, where do they want to be 5, 10, 15 years from now? What does
Okay.
that feel like? What
Yeah.
is Harry 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Who does Harry want to be? What is the man that Harry wants to be? How does he want to show up in the world? How does he want to show up in his community, for his company, for his family, for others around him? And then seeing that, like, okay, what does that feel like, Harry? What does it feel like to be that man? that individual, that authentic sales manager. What does that feel like? Like now, what are the skills that I need to develop that individual? Because that's what I'm after. And that's what you want to get people to see, not who they are today.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, it's a little limiting
Yeah.
because most of us don't like where we currently are. Some do, but in reality, there's always things that we want to, improve or do differently. So it's like, okay, well, then who is it 5, 10, 15 years from now that you want to be? And
Uh,
that's our target.
Yeah. And, this is where that authenticity comes in as a leader,
Mm,
right? If you really care about people, you can have this conversation. If you
right.
don't care and you're just chasing the numbers and this is just a body in front of you, then people aren't going to really open up to you
That's
and
right.
share that, right?
Right. And that's
Yeah.
all relationship. That's all relationship built.
Yeah. Good stuff. Uh, Yeah, so just for a quick break, let's take a quick break here before we dive into this a little bit further, and we'll hear a word from our sponsor.
If you were buying a company, you wouldn't just glance at the website and say, looks good, let's buy it. You'd do your due diligence. You'd review the books, check the leadership, dig into performance history.
Exactly. You never spend millions on a company without knowing what you're getting. Yet, most CEOs hire salespeople with nothing more than a resume and a gut feeling.
That's why we recommend Sales Index Unlimited Candidate Assessments. It's like due diligence for your sales hires. Each sales candidate is evaluated across 21 core sales competencies because a crucial role like sales requires more than a personality profile. Sales Index compares candidates against a database of 2.5 million salespeople. You'll know exactly who has the drive, the grit, and the skills to perform before you bring them on board.
Because in sales, a bad hire doesn't just cost salary, it costs momentum, margin, and morale.
For just $299 a month, you can protect your growth engine and make every sales hire a smart investment.
Do your due diligence before your next hire.
Go to unlimited.salesindex.ai. That's unlimited.salesindex.ai and hire with confidence.
And we're back to the Authentic Sales Manager podcast. Tim Douglas is my guest. And Tim, we're just talking about this vision of asking someone where they'd like to be several years down the road. You mentioned 5 years, 10 years. I just love the value of that. But maybe could you explain? In my mind, I'm thinking that you're putting people in a place where they're now imagining their life differently than where they're living their life today. But
That's right.
help me through that a little bit. Maybe I could use some thought provoking words from you.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny as you say that, or, as you were talking, the thought that came to mind is um, we were created by a creator. And because of that, he had an imagination of what could be,
Mm.
and he created it. And that's in us. And a lot of us don't take time. We're so caught up in the rat race. We're so caught
Yeah.
up in the day to day. We're so caught up in chasing numbers that
Mm.
we lose sight of the imaginability, the idea of being able to sit and just imagine what life could be like or should be like for
Mm.
ourselves. And so there's a book that I've read a few times now. It's called Time to Think.
Mm.
And it's kind of the similar same kind of process. We don't take time to sit and think. And sometimes we just need to sit and think and imagine what could be. What could my life look like? Or what do I want my life to look like? And I get it's hard. Some people are visionaries like myself, and it's easy for me to sit there and dream and cast, but it's a practice. It's a skill, I think, for a lot of people. You just got to build it. You got to sit and you got to practice. It's not going to come easier at first.
Yeah.
But to sit there, and then the other thing is not just to see it, but then to feel it. And I think
Mm.
you and I were kind of talking about that, is to actually, what does that do? What does that feel like to be that individual, to be that man, that woman, that mother, that father, that you know top salesperson, if that's the goal, whatever. But what
Mm.
does that feel like, and why? Why do we want that? And really kind of align ourselves there. And now it's just a matter of developing skills. That's the cool thing about leadership. We talked about leadership a bit.
Yeah.
It's a skill. Detachment is a skill. You know, becoming the individual that you desire to be, or that,
Yeah.
the man or woman that God has created you to be, it's a skill. You got to learn the skills that help you get to that location. So,
Right. It'd be so great if it was just natural and it just came to be naturally, but it
yeah.
seems like it doesn't come naturally. An example I think of is that, like, as a sales leader or any kind of leader for that matter, you got a
Mhm.
million different things coming at you.
Yeah.
And then now you're maybe focused on something, and then someone comes in and says something or asks a question. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I have snapped on occasion.
Mhm.
And it's just like, that's not who I want to be. But it's like, I
Mhm.
did not do something there that I should have done. And you talked about detaching. Is that what I should be thinking about in those situations? Is like something rubs me the wrong way, instead of reacting, that now there's this detaching. Can we share
Yeah.
what your thoughts are on that?
Yeah. We're going deep.
Okay.
You have some good, deep questions.
I
And
can't dial it
this
back
is,
now.
this is deep work,
Yeah.
by the way. And I want to say this to your audience, like, uh, this isn't, these aren't sexy sales things,
Mhm.
right? Like giving you the tactics and the things to go
Right.
execute your sales conversations. These are things that really happen here
In the heart,
and in
right?
the
At the
heart.
core. Yeah.
And exactly. And you've got to put in the work. And I forgot your question already because I just kept thinking like
Well,
this
it's
is such a good thing.
detaching. I think because
Detaching,
of the
yes.
pressure, there's so
So that's
much
where we're at.
reacting, right? So yeah, that was my thought.
So the deep work in that is you've got to, this is funny. So back in 2017, self-awareness, if you recall, self-awareness was like this huge buzzword. And it seems like every year there's some buzzword,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
something that's out there and everybody's attaching themselves to it. Well,
Mm.
in 2017, 2016, 2017, self-awareness was one of those buzzwords. And so I kept asking myself, what is self-awareness? Everybody was just throwing it around like it was like not, and it's like,
Mm.
what does that really mean? And if I may, I'll give you a quick example.
Yeah, please.
Is you have to put things into practice before you'll start to see the fruit of them. It's no different than a seed, right? We plant a seed, we got to water it, we got to nourish it, we can't just plant something. It's just like in sales. You can't just plant it one time and expect a harvest. You got
Right.
to keep watering it. You got to keep making touch points with your clients. Got to do all these things. No different than working on myself and self-awareness, to your point, to be able to detach from this. So I'm going somewhere with this, so track with me.
I'm
Is
following.
you got to be able to understand what happens. So I started studying the brain. I started
Mm.
studying neurochemistry and understanding like what happens the moment that starts to happen in my brain. And now once I understand what's going on up here, I can reverse engineer that. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, when I start to get flustered and upset or angry and all these things, shortness of breath starts to happen. I start to get, excited, and I'm getting, riled up or whatever. You can feel it.
No, absolutely.
And what's happening is it's that prefrontal cortex, oxygen's being pulled from that. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, what needs to happen to be able to make better decisions in the moment?
Mm.
Because when you pull oxygen from the front prefrontal cortex of the brain, now I can't make clear, good decisions. So the first thing I got to do is, man, I got to take a deep breath.
Mm.
That detachment is step back, take a breath, get a broader view, perspective of what's going on. And, sometimes it's just as simple as that, just taking a deep breath, which breaks that cycle, that hormonal dump. And now the more you practice it, the more you see it. So where I was
Yeah.
going with this, that quick story is, this is a personal story where my wife and I were doing an Airbnb. We were managing an Airbnb, just got done cleaning it. My wife knows my ADHD brain is all over the place. And so she's a great reminder and a great help, and says, "Hey, did you shut the back door, or did you lock the back door?" And I immediately wanted to like,
Yeah.
yeah, of course I did. Like, what do you don't need to mother me, like that's how I was feeling. I felt this about to come out. And because I'd been practicing, the Bible talks about taking thoughts captive, taking every thought captive and bringing it under submission. So I had been practicing this. This is self-awareness, understanding what is that thought? What is that? Why did that bother me? When she said that, I felt this, ooh, that didn't feel right. I didn't like that. What is that
Right.
about? And so the more I started practicing that, the more I become aware to it. So now this happens, and I was like, and nanoseconds in my brain is like, why did that bother you? It bothered me because it felt like she's mothering you. She's not mothering you. She's trying to help you. Just thank her for helping you. And I was like, you know what? I realized that you were just trying to help me. Thank you.
Mm,
I appreciate that. And so it's work, man. It's deep
yeah.
work, but it's powerful when you get there.
Yeah, this is so good. And there's a lot of different directions I want to go here, but
Yeah.
really the short one is this is just such a massive benefit when you can start controlling yourself. And a lot of people today feel, I mean, you probably heard it. It's good to just let go of your frustration, just
Mm,
let it all out. And when you explode like that, uh, man, the people around you are getting all kinds of shrapnel,
yeah.
versus, just kind of maintaining it and thinking, maybe I should be looking at this differently instead of just
Yeah.
letting out and venting here in front of everybody or another person.
Yeah. My take on that is what is your thoughts, your initial thoughts when you see someone doing that?
Yeah, they're not in control. Just
No one has they have no control over their life,
yeah,
or their emotions, and they look weak.
yeah,
And that's exactly how we look when we blow up, when we get emotional, when we let ego have its place and we do not subordinate our ego, when we start just letting it roll. That's now we're the weak one. We think, ego tells
yeah,
us we're in control. Ego
right,
tells us you're doing the right thing. Ego says, yeah, go for it. This is fun.
yeah,
Let's go. Let's like I always say this, egos like to dance together. So if your ego rises up, my ego wants to come play and dance with yours. And I have to
and
be the one that says, nope, nope, sorry. Ego doesn't get a vote.
yeah.
So
So it's really good. And so in sales leadership, so a lot of in the movies, it's always portrayed that the sales leader is this obnoxious, egotistical, far
egotistical.
from servant minded, right? It's
That's
like you
right.
think of Glenn Ross. I don't know if you ever saw it, but
Yeah.
it was like
Mhm.
Alec Baldwin just
Mm.
screaming at his team. And
Yeah.
so
Mm.
there's a number of movies like this. It's like, where who would ever want
Yeah.
to work for someone like that?
Yeah.
And I
No.
think that's the thing to do to lead people. And it's just the
Yeah.
exact opposite, in my opinion. So
Complete opposite. Yeah. Yeah.
final thoughts on
Yeah.
Tim, we could go all day and it's
Yes.
so valuable. But what's your final thought on leadership? And it doesn't have to be a short one. I'm just curious, is that how can we help leaders to be better in developing their people? What would you say?
I think first and foremost, back to your first question, just to tie all this together is you from the heart, you authentically have to care about people
Mm,
and care for, my team, man, I deeply, deeply care for and I'll say this. I've got a very high level team member who um, didn't take a situation well. They allowed their emotions to control them versus serve them.
mm,
And now they're making decisions to leave, which is I think, a very sad decision. And I care deeply, and it impacts me.
mm.
And I say that because I feel you have to feel, as a leader, you're responsible for your people,
Yeah.
and you have to authentically care about your people to actually develop them into, you know, the team, the leaders that they deserve to be. And that's the way I look at it. I look at these individuals that I lead, and I'm like, man, they deserve to be great leaders. At the workplace, in their communities, in their home, for
Mhm.
themselves. Because
Right.
first and foremost, we've got to lead ourselves well. And so I'm not perfect by no means, as a leader, of myself or as my team. But as long as we continue to show up authentically from our heart, not to sound super cheesy of this podcast, but it's so true, right? Like
Yeah.
you have to show up and authentically care about the people that you're serving.
Love it. Yeah. This it's work is the thing I got out of this conversation
Mm.
is don't take the role lightly, right? Because it
Well,
can help in so many areas, not just with your team, but there's so many aspects of your life, including your own personal self. And the
yeah.
amount of time people typically put into
Mhm.
leadership generally is not a lot, right? You have some
Yeah,
that do, but the general
that's right.
population, very little.
That's right.
Final thoughts.
Yeah, real quick, just a thought that I had is just to leave people with this. You hear this a lot, and I'm big on leadership, so I'm going to end it with that. And it's you hear what is it, leaders or readers or readers or leaders or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of truth to that. I will say, like, this to me it's not. Some traits are innate, sure, but you still have to develop them. You still have to work on them, to your point. And when you said that, like, the thing that I'm getting out of this is it's work. You have to work on
Mhm.
this. And I tell my team that all the time. Your professional development is on you, not anyone else but you. And so you're not going to get it in the 8 to 5. You're going to have to
Right.
put the work in after the lights are off at work, right?
Yeah.
So I'm reading on the weekends, I'm reading in the evenings, I'm consuming, I'm doing things, I'm putting into practice though as well the things that I'm learning, the things that I'm doing. And you've got to test philosophies out. You've got to test strategies out. You got to test new skills out, and it's just cycle. Test them out, practice them, adjust them, review them, go back, study more, learn more, test them again. It's an ever it's a cycle that you just have fun with, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a
Because it
lot
is
of
fun,
fun.
man. When you
Yeah.
start to, yeah, there's a
Right.
lot of fun in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim, where can people find more of your brilliance, sir?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not I am on socials. I rarely, it's Tim Douglas Inspires
Okay.
on Instagram, and I think it's Tim Douglas Inspire on Facebook as well. I'm on LinkedIn as well, Tim Douglas on LinkedIn. I just recently started posting again on LinkedIn. I'm not on the socials as much. So if someone DMs me, I'm sure I'll see it at some point. But you could always email me if I may, Tim at timdouglasinspires.com, an email. I'm not the greatest at checking those either. I don't get, again, caught up in all those weeds
Mhm.
sometimes.
Yeah. Well,
But
you're a busy guy. And so
yeah,
Tim at timdouglasinspires.com may be a place to
yep,
start. Right. Good
yep.
deal. Man, this has been a
Awesome.
blast, Tim. I feel
Thank you, Harry.
inspired. You inspired me, Tim Douglas at Tim
Oh, thank
Douglas
you.
Inspires. Good stuff today.
Thank you so much.
You betcha.
Thanks for joining us on the Authentic Sales Manager podcast, brought to you by From the Heart Business Network. If today's conversation resonated, rate, review, and share it with a sales leader who needs to hear this. Keep celebrating wins and making sales leadership honorable. See you next time.